What's going on, everyone? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics. And I put out a video maybe about a week ago about a heritage auction that was coming up. This was the Heritage Diamonds in the Rough auction, where basically they had a bunch of huge Grail level books, but they were in lower condition, either lower grade universals or they were restored or qualified, something like that, that would basically make them a little bit more affordable. Doesn't mean they're cheap. I mean, some things I'd say went kind of cheap, but doesn't mean they're cheap, but does mean that they are more affordable versions of that book if it's something that you'd been waiting for to pick up. And one of the comments I had in that video was that they'd like me to do a recap of this auction after everything sold. So here I am. I am back to do a recap of this auction. Now, this auction was only 59 books. So I did end up going back after that video and just pricing everything out because it was pretty easy, quick and easy to do 59 books. Granted, these books are a little bit more of a challenge to price because when you have things like restored books, qualified books, combined with the fact that a lot of these are really, Grail level books that don't sell quite as often, you're going to have a little more variability in price. However, I will say I'm pretty happy with, the outcomes based on my estimates. So the total sales for this auction for these 59 books was $566,446. My estimated value for the total sales for this auction was $521,880. So everything on average sold for 8.5% more than what I had estimated. So all in all, that seems pretty reasonable. I mean, I'll say there was sufficient demand out there based on what I thought the prices would be for these books. When you look at the actual books that sold above or below my estimates, one of the things I also look at, out of these 59 books, 29 went above my estimate, 50 went below. I'm generally looking for right at 50%. If we're saying that things are kind of steady state or reasonable in terms of the market, and this is right on that line, right? It was 29 is just a little bit below half, but basically right on that line. Now, that doesn't mean that everything sold right at those estimated numbers. There are always going to be big sales and weak sales. This is true with any auction. In this one specifically, there were 15 books that went 20% or more above my estimate and 13 books that went 20% or more below my estimate, meaning there were some books that were big upside surprises, and there were some books that were, in my opinion, pretty good deals for what I thought they would go for. Now, we're not going to talk about all 59 books. This video would be way too long, but we're going to talk about a good number of them. We're going to talk about some of the cool big books, especially some of those outliers too that I saw. But you can see over here on the screen, I have got the results of this auction listed. They've got them listed from the highest price to the lowest price for these 59 books. Now, one other thing before we get into this, I'll say one big takeaway that I noticed from this was that the big, strong sales, for the most part, tended to be the books that you would call the bigger keys, kind of like the mega keys that were part of this. There were a couple exceptions. But the weaker sales tended to be more of the coverless type books, or just the books that I would say are a little more obscure for comics. But the big keys on average did very, very well. So with that, let's get into the first book here. We've got All American Comics number 16. This tied for the highest sale price in this auction for $66,000. It was a 1.0 brittle pages. I thought that brittle pages would hurt it some, especially because on Heritage, you often see that with brittle page books. It did not at all. I had this book going for $50,000. I talked about this book in one of my prior videos, or the prior video where I was talking about this auction. Went for $66,000, 32% over my estimate. I also said that's not a huge surprise. Like, this is a book that just doesn't come up for sale hardly ever. So if you've got someone who's just really wants that book and they figure this is their opportunity to get it, you get a little bit of a bidding war. And so this one was a very strong sale. Like I said, 32% over my estimate for a 1.0 brittle page copy. It is actually a pretty nice looking copy. It's got this marker on the cover there that you can see, but no big missing pieces or anything. Again, it is brittle pages too, but you don't see a lot of loose paper, like little chipping and that kind of stuff inside the slab. So there is definitely a big range in brittle page books. Now, the next book here was this Superman #1. This was one that I actually put a bid on during my prior video. This one was a little weak, but not really. So Superman #1, really cool book, very tough book to get as a universal. This one is missing the back cover, sold for $66,000. I had this book going for 70,000. The record for a 0.5 is actually 130,000, but there's a lot of variation in the 0.5s. You can have some that look much nicer than others. And this one is rough, but still obviously a very valuable book. This was only 6% below my estimate. So for all intents and purposes, when you're talking about a Grail level book like this, a book that's this expensive, that's pretty much on the mark for what this book ended up going for. I was watching this one live, and it was stuck, it felt like, for a little bit, and got a few more bids up there that got it pushed up to that, that $66,000 mark. But a respectable sale for this book, even though it was a little bit below my estimate. Now, the next one here we've got is Captain America Comics #1. This is the first restored book that we're talking about. I had this one going for 45,000, went for 52,800. So a solid sale, 17% above my estimate. Didn't hit that 20% threshold that I'm often looking for like what I call like the really strong sales, but still a very, very respectable sale for this book. Nice looking copy, restored, has some married pages in it as well. It's that classic, first appearance of Captain America, first Bucky, first Red Skull, punching Hitler on the cover. I mean, great book. But to me, this tells us kind of what that base value is for this book. I imagine in pretty much any condition, this book now is going to sell for around $50,000, probably $40,000 to $50,000 in any condition on the low end. But solid presenting copy, does have a decent amount of restoration. We can take a quick look here at the restoration for this book. So you can see this one had color touch pieces added, tear seals reinforced and reglossed, and 3 center wraps married. So this book originally was missing 3 full wraps, and somebody took those from another copy and was able to complete this copy at some point in its history. But yeah, super cool book, going for 52,800. All right, now the next one. It would not be a big Grail level auction without a Batman #1. There's always a Batman #1. This one also was a pretty impressive sale. This same book has actually sold previously, sold for 37,200. This is a restored copy, also married page here. You can see the last page is married. Restoration includes color touch pieces added, tear seals cleaned and reinforced. This one has the restoration referred to as extensive with a P there, which means it was professional. That's what the P stands for, and extensive meaning a lot. So if this was with the modern grading, it would probably be something like an A5 or maybe an A4. So 42,000. I had this one going for 37,000. So I felt like this was a very, very respectable sale for this book. Batman 1 comes up for sale all the time. There are, I think, 5 more copies coming up for sale in like the next month or two on Heritage alone. And this book just consistently performs. I mean, it's the first appearance of the Joker, first appearance of Catwoman. And so people just want this book, and it continues to have pretty strong sales. Next book here, another very strong sale. And this is what I'm talking about. Like the big keys just performed very, very well. This is Pep Comics #22, first appearance of Archie, first appearance of Betty, first appearance of Jughead. They aren't on the cover. You've got this World War II cover here. This one also a restored copy. You can take a look at that restoration here. Color touch pieces added, reinforced, cover reattached with glue, and a moderate C3. So that means that it was amateur restoration. 3 means a moderate amount of that amateur restoration. So this comic I had going for 23,000. Its prior sale or prior record in grade, and I believe it was the same book, was 24,000. I felt like I'd seen a few of these coming up for sale recently, so I wasn't sure if it would actually get that same number. This one was sitting at 25,200 before the live bidding started, and added another $6,000 in bids. So it was already above what I thought it would go for before the live bidding started. Then in the live, it got even more bids. So 31,200, really solid sale for that book, 36% over my estimate. So a lot of demand for that Archie book. Now, this is one of those books that there just aren't a lot of. So when we look at the census, only 21 universals, 17 restored, so only 38 total. When you compare that to something like Batman, which has, I think it's a few hundred. We can actually check, well, because we have a Batman right here. So if we look at the census for Batman, yeah, 316 total. That's the difference. About 10 times as many copies of Batman #1 versus Pep Comics #22. So it is a very rare grail, which is one big thing that drives that value too, whenever they come up for sale. But I have seen a few of them coming up for sale recently. All right. Let's look at the next one here. So now we have a Detective Comics #1, another super rare book. We did have that like 6.0 or 6.5 come up for sale recently that went for over $200,000. Yeah, another restored book, but all three edges trimmed, color touch, pieces added, tear steels cleaned, interior lightened and reinforced, extensive professional. I'm so like, this doesn't feel like professional. It feels like color touch, like globbed onto this onto this cover here. But big number for this book. This is a tough book. Does not come up often. 28,800. I had it going for 25,000. So didn't break that 20% threshold, but 15% over my estimate. So again, a strong, solid sale for this tough book. Let's take a look at the census for this one too. You can see here, only 17 universals, 1 qualified, and 19 restored. So only 37 total. All right. Now on to the next book here. We had a Flash Comics #1. This was one of the books that went a little below what I thought it would. It is rough. We'll caveat that. I mean, even for the diamonds in the rough, like this one is pretty rough. So this copy I had going for 25,000. Its prior record in grade was 27,600 and went for 21,600. I believe it was actually this exact same book that sold for 27,600. But I mean, it's brittle pages. It's a 0.5. I think is it a complete 0.5 or was it? I think it was missing multiple pages. Yeah, centerfold, page 3, 7, and 21 missing, effects story incomplete. So missing multiple pages, kind of rough on the cover there. You do have Flash on the cover, so at least that part of the cover looks good. But went for 21,600, which was 14% below my estimate. This one, didn't hit that 20% threshold, but was one of the, what I would call one of the weaker sales for those big, like Grail level books. This is another book that is very tough to come by, does not come up for sale. If we look down at the census for this book, you can see there's 50 universals, 2 qualified, 41 restored. So 93, obviously more than the last couple books we talked about, but quite a bit less than, for example, like the Batman #1. Oh yeah, and here's that exact same sale. Was on Heritage, was in 2023, sold for 27,600, and this time came up and went for 21,600. So you could say, I mean, that's up to you how you want to look at that. Did the last person pay too much, or did this person get this book for a great deal? Especially considering a lot of these other books performed very, very well. All right, let's keep moving on here. Got Detective Comics #35, sold for 20,400. New record in grade for this book. I had it going for 18,000. Prior record was 19,120. So beat my estimate by 13%, but also a new record. I said this in the prior video, not my favorite early Batman cover. There's just something about the style of this one I don't really like, but it's still a pre-Robin Batman, the hypodermic needle cover, and obviously very expensive book, $10,000 a point for this book. All right, now we have got, this was another one that I think underperformed, but let me double check here. We've got More Fun Comics #73. Okay, so didn't underperform too much. This is the first appearance of Aquaman, also the first appearance of Green Arrow and Speedy. This is, if you're not familiar with what this label is, this is a CGC label, but this is their first gen label. So first appearance, Green Arrow and Speedy and Aquaman. This is a 6.5 extensive amateur. It's been trimmed. This one sold for 15,600. I had it going for 16,000. So it was actually pretty much right on the mark. The prior record, though, for this book was 19,500. So this is 3% below what I thought it would go for, but went for almost exactly what I thought it would go for. But pretty cool book to see come up for sale. Now, we've got All-Star Comics number 8, first appearance of Wonder Woman. This was the one book that sold for exactly what I thought it would. I had this one going for 15,000, sold for 15,000, right on the mark with this book. This is one of those that I always feel like it should go for more than it does, compared with the other big Golden Age keys, and it just doesn't. I don't know if it's because of the Sensation 1, Wonder Woman 1 split in values, or it's because she's not on the cover, or what it is, but this one to me, just, it doesn't sell. Seems perpetually undervalued. And that doesn't mean it is undervalued. It feels that way to me. But yeah, sold exactly for what I thought it would. All right, now the next one. This was a solid sale. I was pretty happy to see this sale because I have a higher grade restored copy of Detective Comics number 38. And so this is the first appearance of Robin. And a lot of restoration on this one. Extensive C5, color touch, pieces added, extra staples after manufacturing, tape on the cover, top edge of cover trimmed. And so this one's also trimmed, which tends to hurt the values a little bit more. Mine, I believe, is not trimmed, but went for 14,400. I had this book going for 12,000. Prior record was 10,200. So new record for this 3.5 restored, 20% over my estimate. So hit that 20% threshold. This was a solid, strong sale for this book, for that first appearance of Robin, which I think is one of the better early Batman covers, because you got Robin right on the cover, jumping through the like the hoop there. And kind of cool thing is that if you've seen the opening splash page, it's actually almost identical to the cover. Solid sale for Detective Comics number 38. All right, so now here's another big Golden Age key. If you're not familiar with the Golden Age, probably a more obscure book, but this is the first appearance of Sandman in story. So he does have another appearance that's in the New York World's Fair, I think 1939. But this is his first appearance when he's in a story. So Adventure Comics number 40. I had this book going for 12,000. Prior record was 11,400. Went for 13,200. So new record in grade. And I believe that was the exact same book. So new record in grade with this 8.5 restored. Also beat my estimate by 10%. So a solid, respectable sale for this book. It is a really cool cover. I'm not a big Sandman fan or anything, but if I had the opportunity to pick up this book for a decent price at some point, I'd probably pick it up. But restoration includes color touch, pieces added, tear seals, cover clean, reinforced, reglossed, apparent, extensive, professional. So a lot of restoration, but still a big number, in my opinion, for that book. All right, we're going to skip the Green Lantern number 1. We'll move on to Amazing Fantasy 15. We've got a Silver Age book. We got a Silver Age book that we get to talk about here. So Amazing Fantasy 15, this one also very respectable sale for this book. Now, the prior record for 0.5 was 21,600. That was during the comic boom. This book was going crazy. I wasn't expecting to go anywhere near that. I had it going at 10,000 though, because we had a 0.5 recently sell that was much better presenting for 12,000. And I thought, just because this one, while it is complete, is missing a lot of paper from the edges. And so I had it going for 10,000, went for 12,000, 20% over my estimate. Again, one of those books that hit that 20% threshold. The image in the center, obviously it looks good, but it does have a lot of paper loss. And I thought that was going to hurt this one more, and it just didn't. You can see on the back, it's missing a lot of paper on the edge there. And on the front, missing paper on the right side and the left side. But it is complete. And that is one of those things that can be a big selling point for one of these books, is that it's a 0.5, but a complete 0.5. All right. Skip past the Archie number 1. Move on to, let's talk about Sensation Comics number 1, because we talked about the All-Star number 8 that went for exactly what I thought. This was actually one of the books that I felt went low for a big key, actually pretty low. I think I even put a bid in on this one because I felt like it was going so low. So Sensation Comics number 1, second appearance of Wonder Woman, first cover appearance of Wonder Woman. And I had this one going for 12,000. Prior record in grade was 15,750. Went for 9,600. So 20% below my estimate. This was one of those books that hit that threshold, and it was a big key. Now, this one has what appears to be a lot of bug chew. They didn't get to the back cover. Back cover looks pretty fantastic. But the front cover, if we zoom in here, You can see these little dots. That's probably silverfish or something, and kind of how they chewed in here. The cover still presents pretty well. I mean, you do have this stuff going on the side, but it doesn't affect Wonder Woman herself or kind of like the main image or the header or anything. So I felt like it was a really solid presenting 0.5. And so I thought it would, yeah, there you go. You can see I did throw a bid in on that one. So I did throw a bid in, but I ultimately decided not to go after it, fully to the final price there. But still, I think whoever picked this one up got it for a solid price. All right, now we've got Wiz Comics number 2, technically number 1, the first appearance of Captain Marvel. This is a 0.5 with, again, a bunch of restoration on it. Take a close look at this one. So it has color touch, pieces added, tear seal, staples replaced. And you can see the top part here is a copy that they basically taped on. So this is the original cover down here. And then this top part is taped on. And then the back cover, it said, is the wrong cover for this book. So 0.5, quite a bit of restoration, went for $9,600. I had it going for $8,000. So again, beat my estimate by 20%. Solid sale for this book. I mean, it's just a little above a coverless, right? Because the back cover isn't the right one, so that's really not there. The front cover is missing the top third, but you do have the original kind of important image at least. So that is, I'm sure, a selling point for this book. And this is probably the most affordable option you're ever going to get to be able to pick up a copy of the first appearance of Captain Marvel, Wiz Comics number 2 or number 1, however you want to look at it. All right, now we've got another Silver Age book. We've got Showcase number 4. I had this one going for $7,200, went for $8,400. So 17% above my estimate. I will say, for a 2.0, this is a solid presenting copy of this book. It does have a lot of wear, like on the edges and that kind of thing. But I mean, really, that is a good looking 2.0. Let's take a look at the back. I mean, it's got some water damage and stuff down here, but this is the type of 2.0 that you want to get. If you're getting a low grade book, like this is a fantastic presenting copy. Sold for $8,400. Like I said, 17% over my estimate. Solid sale for that one. Now we've got Wonder Woman number 1. So that was one of the interesting things with this auction, is that we had an All-Star 8, we had a Sensation 1, and a Wonder Woman 1. So all 3 of those keys for Wonder Woman. And I had this one going for $7,600, went for $8,400. So 11% over my estimate. Again, a 0.5. It is a solid presenting 0.5. I think it's missing the back cover. Let's take a look here. Back cover missing, front cover detached and complete. So yeah, missing the back cover, but a solid presenting front cover. So to me, if you're getting a 0.5, this is a pretty good option for a 0.5. But went 11% over my estimate. So 2 of the Wonder Woman keys did pretty well. We had the All-Star 8 that went for exactly what I thought. This one went a little above. And then we had the Sensation 1 that I felt was on the weaker side. You got to watch everything, if you're trying to find a deal out there, and you just kind of try to pick out those deals that come up. Now we have a Suspense Comics number 3. This was really interesting to me because we had what you would call 2 of the biggest non-superhero, I'll call them non-superhero, Golden Age covers that are like just the big value just for the cover books in this auction that were coverless. And it was a story of 2 completely different worlds. The Suspense Comics number 3 here. This one went for $6,300. I had it going for $6,500. So it's 3% below my estimate. But again, like with a book like this, pretty much right in line. So I've talked about this one, and the other book I'll mention in a second. It's tough because you're buying this, you want this book for the cover, right? And so how much do you really want to pay for that interior? Now, granted, if somebody is able to come across a cover, which I feel like that's got to be almost impossible to come across just a cover, but someone wants to come across cover, they can put them together and get a complete copy. This one went for $6,300. The other book that sold, that is one of the most well-known covers, was Fantastic Comics number 3. That's this Lou Fine robot cover. And that book, in a coverless, went for $870. I had it going for $2,800. Its prior record, I believe it was the same one, went for $4,999. Went for $870. And I could have bid on it, and I was just like, I don't want it. And so it's just like that was interesting to me, because you have two books that are just known for their covers. Suspense Comics 3 and actually, and here, just so you know what I'm talking about, I'm going to pull those books up. We're going to go Suspense Comics number 3, just so you get an idea of what this book looks like. So this is Suspense Comics number 3. This is this super famous Alex Schomburg cover. I mean, anything above like a 2 goes for over $100,000. And then we've got Fantastic Comics number 3. Interesting, they're both number 3s. This is this famous Lou Fine cover. Similarly, it had a sale recently where we had a 1.8 go for $90,000. So it's like a 2.0 plus, it's like $100,000 book. They're both just known for their covers. That is what these books are known for. But one of them in a cover list sold for $870 and the other one sold for $6,300. I just thought that was really interesting to see that split when you're talking about the coverless copy. Maybe somebody just stole that Fantastic Comics number 3. I mean, that's probably what it is. I probably should have bid on it, and they probably would have bid back, and maybe would have gone for a lot more. But that one, maybe it was the steal of the auction. I don't know. All right, let's keep moving on. This was another big surprise to me. This Detective Comics 31. Now, this one might fool you because they used a copy of the cover that looks old. It's like a copy of a beat up version of the cover, but it is a coverless copy. It is missing the cover. And so we look coverless, front colors, cover copy, wrong back cover, tape on cover, 2 extra staples added after manufacturing. So this is a coverless copy of this book, and it went for $5,600. I had this one going for $4,000. The prior record for a coverless was $4,650. Part of the reason that I had it going a little less was that this is another book that I've seen quite a few copies come up for sale recently. And we've seen kind of those prices just shift down a little bit. That just happens when you've got really big, expensive books and somebody gets a big number and then a bunch of them come up for sale. You start to see the prices slip a little bit. And so I thought that might happen here, and it did not. This was a very, very strong sale for this book. Beat my estimate by 44%. So solid sale for Detective Comics number 31. One of those books that I would love to get a universal copy at some point. I don't know if I ever will. They're just getting so expensive, but this is one of my kind of like goal books in terms of collecting. All right, now next up was another coverless book that had a pretty solid sale. This is More Fun Comics number 52, Slightly Brittle Pages. And this is actually the first appearance of the Spectre. So you see that here, origin and first appearance of the Spectre. And so this is a NG, slightly brittle, coverless copy of this book. Went for $5,520. I had it going for $5,280, which was the prior record for this book. So beat my estimate by 5%, but basically pretty much right in line for what I was expecting this book to go for. But yeah, that is a very tough book to come across, even whether it's coverless or not. So commanded a pretty big number. Now we had New Fun Comics number 1. This was another one that I felt like was a pretty strong sale. It's not graded because these books I think are a little too big to fit inside of the slabs. I had this one going for $4,500, went for $5,280. Now this one was quite a bit lower before the actual bidding started. It was sitting at $2,340. So this one more than doubled in the live bids. But yeah, these two books, they're just extremely old. You can see 1935. They are very rare. There was one that sold in that Christine Farrell collection recently, but you just don't see these books come up. And so if you've got the right people in there, they start bidding on them. Now let's keep going down here. Let's find some more Silver Age. So we had Fantastic Four number 5, a 3.0. This one, you can tell it's got a fair amount of tanning to this cover. I had this one going for $4,400, went for $4,560. Beat my estimate by 4%. Basically, it was right in line. Now, this is one of those books that has come down a lot since the comic boom. It peaked at $11,000 for a 3.0. But we've got all the Doom hype now, so people are probably out there looking for this book. But I feel like it still might fall over the next year or so while we're kind of like missing out on news, especially with the delay that we heard about to the movie and all of that. So, but yeah, respectable sale for this book. Like I said, had it gone for 4,400, went for 4,560. All right, now we have Action Comics number 5. This was actually the book that opened up this auction. Started off very strong because I had this book going for 2,600, went for 3,840, so 48% over my estimate. You can see this is a qualified label. That's what the green label is. This one has pages 7 to 10 married. So it was missing pages 7 to 10. Those were added in to complete this copy of this book. But solid sale for that one. Then a couple more Silver Age keys. Journey into Mystery number 83, first appearance of Thor. I had this one going for 3,900, went for 3,840. So, I mean, I think 1% or something off on that one, 2% off. So very, very close. Solid presenting copy. This one has some water damage, that kind of thing. That's what is really knocking down the grade on that book. Then we have a Tales of Suspense number 39, first appearance of Iron Man, 1.8. I had this one going for 3,800, went for 3,600. So 5% below my estimate. Again, pretty much right in line. A little weak, but I mean, as close as you can almost hope to be when you're estimating some of these books. This one, I mean, I think this is the type of thing that probably hurt a little bit. I don't know if there's tape on the interior that's kind of bleeding through. That might be what's causing that. But I mean, it is a solid presenting 1.8. I mean, you can't take it away. It's a 1.8. It's going to be lower grade. It doesn't have any big pieces missing or anything like that. It's a lot of chipping and wear on the edges and tape and stuff, but it is a solid presenting copy of that book. Then to continue on with the Silver Age keys, we had an X-Men number 1 in a 1.8 that went for 3,600. This one went 14% below my estimate. I had it going for 4,200. So this was on the weaker side. You could say maybe somebody got a deal, or I don't know how you want to look at it, but this one was on the weaker side for the books that I was looking at. Did not get below that 20% threshold, but for what I would call some of the bigger keys, this was one of the weaker sales. And then for DC, we've got Showcase number 22, first appearance of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern. So we had the All-American 16. We also have the Showcase number 22. This one went for 3,480. I had it going for 3,600. So 3% below my estimate. So again, this is what you can see here is like there are definitely books that went below my estimate, but they were pretty close. Like it was right on the edge of being below or above. So a respectable sale for that book. This one, I'll say, this book surprised me. All Flash number 1. So All Flash number 1, I had going for 1,500, went for 2,160. So went for 44% over my estimate. This one had a lot of restoration. I thought that was going to hurt it more than it did. See here, it was, and I'll say it's a lot of restoration, but it doesn't say a lot up here. It's a B1, which is between amateur and professional, and it's 1, which means a small amount, but it's color touch, pieces added, tear seals, spine split sealed, and cover reinforced. So it's like there's a lot going on with this book, but it's still saying that there isn't much. And so it's one of those things where maybe somebody is what they're hoping is that even though there's a lot of words up here, that they can undo this and not have a lot of damage to the book. And maybe they can get it to a universal that actually presents pretty well. And maybe they can, good luck to them. You can see like, that's where you can see some color touch. That's almost certainly color touch filled in on those creases there. I don't know if there's more. I mean, this is black cover. Like that's probably color touch right here. This could be color touch like this. Like there could be, I mean, this looks like it's probably color touch. Like sometimes when you get those ones, you can sometimes have a lot of color touch with a 1. And so it feels like this may, I mean, you may have a lot of white streaks on this cover if you go to have that color touch removed. But hey, it might still be worth it. So if we look at, let's just look at All Flash number 1. So we got All Flash number 1, and let's see let's say it drops to like a 3. So, I mean, to me, like probably not worth it. Like if there's that much color touch that has to be removed and you have all these scrapes and it drops to like a 3, like even a 3.5, that's what this book, there we go. That's what this book sold for. This sold for a 3.5 universal price. So you would need to get a 4.0 or better to break even. And that's after you pay to have that restoration removed, you get it regraded, selling fees, everything like that. You need a 4.0 or better to make this worth it. And I mean, maybe somebody's planning to just keep it as is because it does present very, very well. Maybe that's what the plan is. But if somebody is planning to remove that restoration, I think it may be a money losing endeavor if they go that route. All right. We talked about a lot of books here. Let's see. Let's just kind of scroll through real quick, see if there's anything else that really jumps out that we should talk about. Oh, okay. All right. Let's close out with this one. We're going to close out with Action Comics number 6. So this was one of the coverless books that I talked about. This is the gorilla cover. This is the first appearance of Jimmy Olsen, even though he isn't named, but first appearance of Jimmy Olsen, and sold for $1,170. I had this one going for $1,400. Prior record was $1,395. Went for $1,170. So 16% below my estimate. Said in that prior video, maybe this was your opportunity to pick up this, this Superman key for a reasonable price, for a good price. And I think somebody did. I mean, getting an Action Comics number 6 first appearance of a major character, even I know it's not named, but first appearance of a major character for $1,170 seems like kind of a steal. But let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. I mean, overall, like I said, like this auction was pretty strong. I mean, it was a very respectable auction. Like when you look at the total sales numbers on average, they beat my estimates by about 8.5%. When you look at the number that sold above versus below, I was right around 50%. I think it was like 49%. So that's generally what I like to see for what looks like a stabilized market. Now, again, I've said this before, these books aren't necessarily an indicator of the overall comic market. These are an indicator, even though they're lower grade keys or grails, they are still high dollar books. The average price for the books that sold in this auction was $9,601. So this is still a very high end sale. And that's generally where I've seen the market continue to remain strong or stable. And so I don't think you can necessarily state that this means that the overall comic market is, recovered or stable or anything like that. The high end market is still very, very strong, especially when you're talking about big golden age and to some extent silver age keys. But let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell, and I will see you on the next one.